The galaxy was a harsh place. Stars shone cold and distant, and planets bore scars of ancient wars and battles. On the rocky plains of Korath 9, the remnants of a fierce fight smoldered under twin suns. Smoke rose from shattered ships, and the ground was littered with debris and scorched armor. Human soldiers moved cautiously through the wreckage, scanning the horizon for any remaining threats. Captain Ethan Cole walked among them, tall and steady, his mind calculating every possibility. The Varkari were known for their cunning and strength, and this battle had been one of the fiercest in recent memory. Ethan's team had fought with courage, and against all odds, humans had emerged victorious. The remaining Varkari lay captured or fled into the jagged canyons beyond. The victory was hard won, and the toll was evident in every soldier's weary expression. As the dust settled, the command council arrived in their hovering ships, overseeing the division of spoils. Among the treasures of war were alien technology, maps of hidden supply routes, and prisoners. Ethan had seen many battles, but nothing prepared him for what came next. "Captain Cole," a voice echoed from the council's communicator. "Step forward for your share." Ethan approached, eyes narrowing as he scanned the gathered prisoners. They were Varkari, each tall and lithe, with skin that shimmered faintly under the sunlight and eyes that glowed with an inner fire. They were a proud species, feared across multiple star systems. And then he saw her. She stood apart from the others, her posture regal and unafraid. Her skin was a pale violet, her hair long and flowing like liquid silver. Her eyes were a deep amethyst, intelligent and calculating. Even in captivity, she carried herself with the grace of someone who had been raised in power. The council official gestured toward her. "Captain Cole, this prisoner is assigned to you. Consider it your reward." Ethan blinked. He had faced many enemies, but this was unexpected. The other soldiers muttered among themselves, some surprised, others clearly envious. Ethan stepped closer, his instincts telling him to remain cautious. The girl's gaze met his, unwavering. She did not flinch, did not bow, did not beg. Instead, there was a spark of curiosity in her eyes, as if she were measuring him, weighing his worth. "Lyra," the council said, her name precise and formal. "You are to accompany Captain Cole. Obedience is mandatory." Lyra's lips curled slightly, a hint of amusement or disdain. She spoke in her native tongue, rapid and melodic. The council official waved, and a translation device activated in Ethan's helmet. The words reached him clearly. "I will obey none." "You are not my master." Ethan felt a flicker of both irritation and intrigue. Most prisoners were terrified, submissive. Lyra was different. She did not see herself as a captive, and her pride was palpable. "Captain Cole," the council continued, "treat her as you see fit. But remember, she is a key prisoner. Intelligence is valuable." Ethan nodded, though his mind was already racing. He needed to understand this alien, to find out what made her special and whether she could be trusted. They began the journey back to the human base. Lyra walked beside him, unbound, her movements precise and deliberate. The other soldiers watched warily, some keeping their distance, others curious about her abilities. "You speak," Ethan said cautiously. "You could resist. You could run. Why don't you?" Lyra's eyes flicked toward him, sharp and assessing. "Because running would waste my strength. Because I am curious, and because I do not fear you." Ethan raised an eyebrow. Few had ever said that to him, let alone with such confidence. He studied her, trying to gauge the truth behind her words. "Curiosity can be dangerous," he replied, "especially for someone in your position." Lyra's lips quirked. "Danger is relative. I survived far worse than your weapons." As they moved through the rugged terrain, Ethan noticed small things. How Lyra observed, how her eyes followed the movements of the team, how she seemed aware of even the slightest change in the environment. There was intelligence here, but more than that, there was strategy. She was not just a prisoner. She was a thinker, a planner, perhaps even a warrior in her own right. When night fell, the humans set up camp. Fires were lit, meals were distributed, and soldiers tried to rest. Ethan set up a perimeter but found his thoughts drifting back to Lyra. She sat alone, gazing at the stars, calm and composed. "I do not sleep as you do," she said softly. Almost to herself, Ethan approached, keeping his tone neutral. "Then how do you rest?" Lyra's gaze lifted, meeting his. "I meditate. I listen, I learn. Sleep is not always necessary when the mind is engaged." There was something almost mesmerizing about her presence. Ethan realized that while he had expected fear or anger, he found only a sense of intrigue. She was captivating, yes, but also formidable. He wondered what she thought of humans, of him, of their victory. The next day, as they traveled through a narrow canyon, Lyra suddenly stopped. Ethan noticed her body tense, her eyes scanning the rocks above. "Something approaches," she said, voice low and urgent. Ethan's team prepared for an ambush, weapons raised, eyes sharp. And then from the shadows figures emerged. Varkari warriors, armed and dangerous, moving with lethal precision. They had come to reclaim Lyra. The humans fired and the canyon erupted into chaos. Ethan fought alongside his soldiers, but Lyra moved with unmatched speed and skill. She dodged, countered, and even disarmed enemies with fluid motions that seemed almost impossible. Ethan watched, amazed. This girl, assigned as his prisoner, was proving to be an invaluable ally in combat. When the skirmish ended, the surviving Varkari fled. Ethan's soldiers cheered, though their voices were tinged with awe and disbelief. Lyra stood among them, unharmed, her expression unreadable. "You are skilled," Ethan admitted, approaching her. "More than I expected." Lyra's eyes met his, and for a brief moment the wall of pride and defiance softened. "I survive," she said simply, "and I choose carefully when to reveal strength." Ethan realized that understanding her would not be simple. She was more than a prisoner, more than a trophy of war. She was a mind, a strategist, and perhaps even a key to something much larger than a single battle. As they resumed their journey to the human base, Ethan felt a shift in perspective. What he had first seen as a reward or prize was now a puzzle to be solved, a challenge to be met with respect and care. He did not yet trust her fully, nor did he expect her to trust him, but there was potential, a potential that could change the course of human and alien relations forever. Night fell again, and this time Ethan did not sleep either. He watched Lyra, saw her meditate, and wondered about the secrets she carried. Every glance, every motion hinted at knowledge, abilities, and experiences far beyond his own. And somewhere deep inside he felt anticipation for what was to come. Lyra, too, seemed aware of the unspoken tension. She had survived battles, betrayals, and loss. She had faced humans before, and yet Ethan was different. She saw in him not just a soldier, but a mind willing to listen, to understand, to value her as more than a captive. The journey ahead promised danger, uncertainty, and perhaps even discovery. And as the first light of the twin suns illuminated the canyon walls, Ethan and Lyra walked side by side, bound by circumstance but already forming a cautious alliance. And far beyond the horizon, hidden from sight, a new threat stirred, one that would soon test their trust, their courage, and their capacity to fight as one. The twin suns rose slowly over Korath 9, casting long shadows across the rocky plains. Captain Ethan Cole and Lyra continued their journey to the human base, but the calm morning belied the tension that hung between them. Ethan walked beside her, his mind still turning over the events of the ambush. Lyra's skill in combat had been extraordinary. Not just fast, not just precise, but smart, predicting movements, controlling the battlefield, almost as if she could see the future. "You are stronger than most of my soldiers," Ethan said carefully, breaking the silence. "But strength alone does not win battles." Lyra's eyes glimmered. "I do not rely on strength alone," she said. "Strategy and patience matter more. That is why I survive," Ethan nodded. He felt a growing respect for her, but also a cautious wariness. He had faced many enemies, but Lyra was unlike anyone he had ever met. She was not just an alien prisoner. She was a mind and a spirit, sharp and unpredictable. They walked in silence for a while, the wind carrying the scent of scorched earth and dust. Then Lyra spoke again. "You humans are different from what I expected. I thought you would be cruel. I see now that you can be fair. And clever." Ethan smiled faintly. "We try, but fairness is earned, not given. And cleverness. Well, that is something we all must prove." Lyra tilted her head, studying him. "And what do you seek, Captain Cole? Glory? Survival? Or understanding?" Ethan hesitated. No one had ever asked him that directly. Understanding, he admitted finally. Not just of the battlefield, but of what lies beyond it. And sometimes, understanding of those we call enemies. Lyra's expression softened slightly, though the pride in her posture never left. Then we are not so different, she said quietly. Their moment of calm was interrupted by a sudden vibration in the air. Lyra stiffened immediately, her eyes scanning the horizon. Ethan's hand went to his weapon instinctively. From the distance, a low hum grew. Like the sound of a massive engine, shadows stretched across the ground, revealing shapes moving with terrifying speed. Varkari reinforcements, larger and more numerous than before. They have come for me, Lyra said, her voice calm but urgent. They will not stop until I am returned. Or dead. Ethan gritted his teeth. We are not going to let that happen. Everyone positions. His soldiers reacted quickly, forming defensive lines. Ethan and Lyra took the center, knowing their coordination could turn the tide. The battle erupted with a roar. Blasters fired, energy shields flared, and the ground shook under the force of alien machinery. Ethan moved with precision, covering his team, but Lyra was everywhere at once. She disarmed attackers, redirected blasts, and led the human soldiers in maneuvers they had never practiced. Ethan could not believe what he was seeing. This prisoner was not only a fighter, but a tactician. Her ability to adapt and anticipate gave the humans a clear advantage. Yet even in victory, she showed restraint. She did not kill unnecessarily, only neutralized threats. When the dust settled, the surviving Varkari fled into the distance. Ethan surveyed the battlefield, breathing heavily. His soldiers were battered but alive. Lyra stood in the center, unscathed, her hair flowing, her eyes calm and piercing. You are remarkable, Ethan said, finally approaching her. Lyra's gaze met his. I told you. Strength is only part of survival. Wisdom and timing matter more. For the first time, Ethan realized that Lyra was not just a survivor. She was a leader, someone who could command respect and inspire loyalty, and he understood that keeping her as a prisoner without trust would be impossible. The journey back to the human base was tense but uneventful. Once they arrived, the council demanded a report. Ethan described the ambush, Lyra's actions, and the strategic advantage her knowledge could provide. The council members listened, some skeptical, some impressed, but all intrigued. Captain Cole, one official said finally, you have kept her alive. You have also allowed her to influence the outcome of a battle. What do you propose? Ethan looked at Lyra. She did not flinch. Instead, she met his eyes, silent and confident. I propose cooperation, Ethan said. She is more than a prisoner. She is intelligent, resourceful, and has knowledge that can help us understand the Varkari and their technology. But she must be treated as an equal, not as a prize. A murmur ran through the council chamber. Treating an enemy as an equal was unusual, even controversial. But Ethan's calm conviction carried weight. He could see the sparks of curiosity in the council's eyes. They recognized his wisdom and judgment. Lyra stepped forward, her voice clear and commanding. I will assist your people, she said, but only if I am respected. Only if my knowledge is valued, not exploited. And only if we act as allies, not captor and captive. The council hesitated, then nodded. It was a new approach, one that could change the course of human-Varkari relations. Ethan felt a sense of relief. Trust was fragile, but it had begun to form. In the following days, Ethan and Lyra worked closely together. She taught the humans how to optimize their energy shields, how to predict Varkari movements, and even how to modify their blasters for greater efficiency. Ethan watched and learned, realizing that her mind was as valuable as her combat skills. The soldiers, too, began to respect her, seeing her not as an alien prize, but as a mentor and ally. One evening, after a long day of training and planning, Ethan and Lyra stood on a balcony overlooking the base. The stars glittered above and the twin suns had set, leaving the sky a deep, endless blue. You have changed the way humans fight, Ethan said, and perhaps the way we think about our enemies. Lyra looked at him, her expression thoughtful. And you have changed the way I think about humans. I expected cruelty, but I found fairness, courage, and curiosity. I did not expect it, Ethan smiled. We are not perfect, but we try. Sometimes understanding comes from facing the unknown together. Lyra nodded. Then we shall face what comes next. Together. Their partnership grew stronger with each passing day. Lyra's knowledge revealed hidden supply caches, advanced technology and intelligence that allowed humans to secure key strategic positions in the galaxy. But more importantly, she and Ethan learned to trust one another. Respect became understanding, and understanding became a quiet, unspoken bond that neither of them fully recognized but both felt deeply. Then the warnings came. Signals from distant systems indicated a greater threat, a galactic force even more powerful than the Varkari. Entire colonies had been destroyed, and no species seemed able to resist them. The humans realized that survival would require every advantage, every ally, and every bit of knowledge they could gather. Ethan and Lyra stood before the command council once more. She spoke first, her voice steady. The humans have courage, resourcefulness, and determination. Combined with strategy and technology, you can face what is coming, but you must act quickly, and you must act together. Ethan added, "We have learned to fight alongside each other. We have seen the value of understanding our allies and even our enemies. Together we are stronger. And we will not fail." The council members looked at them, the weight of responsibility heavy in the room. The galaxy was vast and dangerous, but in that moment, humans and a single Varkari princess stood ready to face whatever came next. Later, when the council had dispersed, Ethan and Lyra walked together through the quiet corridors of the base. For a moment, there was no talk of battles, strategies, or alien threats. There was only the calm presence of one another. "You were right," Ethan said quietly. "You are more than I imagined. Not just a fighter, not just a strategist, but someone remarkable." Lyra's eyes softened. "And you are more than I expected. Courage, wisdom, and fairness. I did not think a human could hold all three. Yet here you are." Ethan chuckled softly. "Perhaps the galaxy has more surprises for both of us." Lyra nodded, a faint smile touching her lips. "Then we shall face them together. Whatever comes, we will endure. And perhaps we will teach others that strength is not just power, but understanding, respect, and trust." The twin suns rose once more over Korath 9, painting the rocky plains in gold and crimson. Ethan and Lyra stood side by side, looking toward the horizon. Battles awaited, threats loomed, and mysteries of the galaxy still called. But together, human and Varkari, they were ready to face the future. And in that moment, Ethan realized that what had once seemed impossible, a bond between a human soldier and an alien princess, was now the most important alliance he had ever known. Not just for survival, but for hope. The galaxy was vast, dangerous, and uncertain, but humanity had found a remarkable ally in Lyra, and for the first time in many battles, Ethan felt not only the thrill of victory, but the promise of a future shaped by courage, respect, and the unbreakable bond of trust. The adventure was far from over, but now it was shared.